Yeah, Omar's brother caught in immigration fraud scandal is over. This just happened 1 hour ago and everything. So let's go ahead and get into it. Yeah. So let's get into the video, shall we?
Removed from her committees and censured in Congress. Good. Now all we need is restitution and deportation. And now we're talking.
So I'm gonna have to bleep out part of what he said there because he called Ilhan Omar the brother Fucker. So yeah, I'm gonna take that part out. I'm gonna take the F word out of there, but we have some evidence, legitimate evidence that yeah, Ilhan Omar allegedly married her brother to fraudulently get him American citizenship. No, that is not clickbait, ladies and gentlemen. That is not a joke. We may have Ilhan Omar out of this country due to fraud very soon. Yeah, crazy. I know. Pretty wild stuff, man. So I want to get into this clip from Benny Johnson, and he dives into it a little bit more with goodness gracious, why can't I think of her name right now off the top of my head? Some of you will type it in the comments what this chick's name is. I'm drawing a blank on her name right now. Goodness gracious, I know who she is, but the name isn't coming to me at the moment. But anyway, this stuff is quite interesting because if this really turns out to be true, this is absolutely huge. This is absolutely huge stuff, and possibly Ilhan Omar could be deported out of this country, which would be absolutely massive news. Massive news. Obviously, Trump has talked about her Somalian community, and some of those folks are already going to on the chopping block to be deported. So yeah, this is absolutely huge. This is exactly what we voted for. So yeah, with that being said, make sure you guys hit that like button. All right, subscribe if you are new, and let's dive in.
Yeah, because I got like I'll break a little news on this. I'm pretty close with a lot of people at Homeland Security, and allegedly there's a demonstrable amounts of evidence that the government has that proves this. And perhaps they're like trying to figure out which way to go around it. I know it's got to be a touchy issue, obviously, you know. But what do you say to this, Congresswoman?
A little too touchy for family, but in Congress, it's going to be really difficult to have a real investigation like we should. Look, Nancy Mace bravely put a privileged resolution on the floor condemning the remarks.
Bobart is her name. It just came to me. Literally just popped up in my head. I'm sure some of you are typing it in the comment section already, but yeah, I remember it now. Bobart.
Made by Ilhan Omar. And Ilhan Omar was trying to troll everyone in the process leading up to the vote. And she just simply wanted to censure her. She said you should not be on the Foreign Affairs Committee with the rhetoric that you have, and then of course it went against our Congressional Code of Ethics that we agree to when we are signed in as members of Congress. And we
you have a code of ethics. You have a code of ethics that says you can't marry your brother.
That might need to be put in. But we definitely have a code.
I think that's
of
in the
ethics.
Bible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Our Bible.
Yes.
And anyway, you had Republicans block that. You had Republicans table this motion. Maybe some making excuses for the First Amendment. The First Amendment doesn't protect you from consequences. And when you have a code of ethics that you are using your office to absolutely defy, there needs to be accountability there. And, maybe some were just covering their own backs to keep other stories down. I don't know the reasons why people were voting to table this motion, but to have an actual investigation, I don't know if we have a strong enough Republican Party at this time to actually commit to that and get it done. But this is someone who absolutely should be investigated. I think she should be sitting in prison or at least sent back to Somalia, rather than George Santos being put in solitary confinement for telling a fib, years back. This is, that was gross that he was expelled from Congress, and the charges that he got. I'm advocating for Santos's pardon, and I would much rather see Ilhan Omar having consequences for her conduct rather than him.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it very much does reveal the soul of a person. How you treat somebody who's deceased, like that tells you everything. Like how she's treated Charlie Kirk after his horrific death at the hands of a left-wing radical is sickening. And just a post here from U.S. Immigration Services: marriage fraud is a crime. They're just reminding us here. They've sent a number of posts, a number of bangers actually out about this. I don't know if they're trying to send a message. I don't know. Report marriage fraud here.
Interesting. I think we need to make some reports, Benny. Okay. You have quite the following. I think we could get a few reports made on this one.
I guess we'll see. Thank you, Congresswoman. Obviously, this is something. All of these topics are very interesting, but man, Victor Marx, I'm gonna hit him up, man. This is awesome. Very exciting times.
This is an amazing man.
Very exciting times.
His wife is going to be right alongside of him, and she's even more powerful. And really, the encouraging voice behind him going into ISIS territory, rescuing women and children, because he told her it was a suicide mission, and she said, "I would rather be a widow than married to a coward."
So, as you heard there, we have some evidence. Now, will the Republican Party have the cojones to actually investigate it, to actually go down that route? We shall see. But that also leads to another point, right? And it's a point that I've always talked about, and if you've been here listening to the videos, you know I've harped on this 1,000 times. We need to vote people out like John Thune. I don't care if he's the Senate Majority Leader, the leader in the Senate. Don't care. I don't care how much money he spends on ads whenever he's up for re-election to try to convince people that he's this great leader and this staunch Republican, because he isn't. It's bullshit. It is. It is. I mean, when you really, take a step back and think about this, right? Uncle Trump has signed a record number of executive orders. How many of those executive orders have actually been signed into actual law by Congress? Exactly. And that's a problem. Because not only did we give Trump the presidency, right? We gave him the House and we gave him the Senate, so that he could do exactly what he promised us he was going to do, which through executive orders he's most definitely attempting to. But why haven't these been passed into law by Congress? Why are there still appointments being made? Why haven't all of those been pushed through by John Thune? You see what I'm saying? John Thune is absolutely garbage. Garbage. Matter of fact, hold on. Let me confirm which state John Thune is from. John Thune. Let me see real quick. Hold on. I want to figure this out, because this is important. South Dakota. So if you are from South Dakota, vote that out. Excuse my language, but I'm so sick of people like this, bro. There's no reason why we shouldn't be ramming things through. There's no reason why we shouldn't have gotten rid of the filibuster by now, because we know what Democrats would do if they were in power right now. I mean, they already attempted to. They already attempted to get rid of the filibuster. But what were the two senators? Goodness gracious, I can see his face too. I think they both retired, actually. I can't. It got blocked by just two people. Okay, without those two, the filibuster would have been gone. So why aren't we as Republicans getting rid of the filibuster? Why hasn't John Thune said, you know what? Yeah, let's get this thing done. South Dakota, I'm gonna need y'all to step up. We got to get rid of that joker. We got to vote him out. And let me make this clear before anybody twists my words, and because I did say we got to get rid of that joker. I mean the right way, the legal way, okay? Voting him out, not harming him in any way, shape, or form, not with any type of violence. That's not what I'm talking about. I mean, vote him out, okay? That's all I mean. All right, just want to make that clear before anybody twists my words. I caught myself when I said get rid of that Joker. I was like, nah, let me make sure I clear the air before somebody twists things. So yeah, there is evidence out there. We just have to have a strong enough Republican Party that's actually going to do what we're supposed to do. I mean, we watched Democrats literally get rid of, and some Republicans vote to get rid of Santos, which you just heard them talk about for a small, meaningless. I mean, it's a lie is a lie, but still, Democrats have done a whole lot worse, including Ilhan Omar, and apparently we have some DNA evidence to prove that she allegedly married her brother.
Yeah, you're right. She did marry her brother. This is to become an American citizen. This is to get into power. So not only did she commit immigration fraud, she committed marriage fraud, and she committed incest. And I think in the Somalian culture, incest is very looked upon. Ain't worth it. But what do we Republicans know, huh? Back to the video.
Check it out.
Genetic match, the DNA match to the man who was her second husband. They went to 3 continents. They found a cigarette butt and a drinking straw, which they decided, they sent it to a DNA laboratory and found conclusively that the DNA matched, that the second husband was a sibling, according to this DNA sample. So the very day that they were going to unleash this on the world, and in fact I was interviewing one of the people involved, the FBI swooped on the gentleman, Anton Lazaro, from this Republican PAC up in Minnesota, and arrested him on some different charges. Who knows whether he's guilty or not guilty. I mean, he's not guilty until proven, but he's in jail. And so his story never got to see the light of day. I mean, luckily he'd told the FBI they were not interested. They told him the statute of limitations had run out. We managed to see the website before he took it down, before he was arrested, and managed to report the story such as it was.
So yeah, we have allegedly some evidence that is legitimately her brother. DNA evidence. But we have a weak, pathetic Republican leadership. We have some rhinos. John Cornyn, right? The Senator John Cornyn, he's got to go, which he's more than likely going to be replaced by Ken Paxton. Ken Paxton is leading in a lot of the polls in Texas against John Cornyn. I think Wesley Hunt is also running in that same race, but I think Wesley is behind Ken Paxton. But it's looking like we'll get rid of at least one rhino in John Cornyn, so that's always great news. So big shout out to Texas. Appreciate y'all. But yeah, South Dakota got to step up. Alaska with Lisa Murkowski, y'all got to step up. She's got to get voted out as well. Plus some others, right? Plus others. I'm not the biggest fan of Ted Cruz. Okay, I've heard some things behind the scenes that he puts on the front, right? That he's secretly plotting a takeover with some previous rhinos. Maybe I'll make a story. Maybe I'll make a video on that entire situation as well. If you guys want to see that, let me know. But yeah, people like that.
Guess you just seen that right there. Welcome back. Trump forces Elizabeth Sunak to resign after linking her to Afghan attacker. So let's get into it.
Of trouble now blames her dangerous rhetoric for the Afghan attack on 2 National Guardsmen in Washington, D.C. and is calling for her resignation. Guys, I'm excited to get into this one, so we're going to hop straight into it. All I ask that you guys please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And without further ado, let's hop straight into it, folks. Check this one out.
The other guardsman, of course, we still have hope. He's still in critical condition. We are doing everything we can to assist his family and to make sure that they have everything they need during this difficult time for them. We are all praying for Andrew Wolf, again, a 24-year-old taken by total surprise by an individual who made the decision to take a life on Thanksgiving Eve. He did not have that right, and the United States government will prove that.
All right, folks, this is truly a sad tragedy we've seen unfold in Washington, D.C. just last week with an illegal Afghan immigrant attacking two National Guardsmen 1 mile away from the White House. But one thing I will say is the response to this tragedy has been incredible. Support outpour from all over the country. We got this one right here, beautiful. Members of the National Guard were spotted praying together outside the D.C. hospital where their fellow soldiers are fighting for their lives. Keep praying for a miracle here. Yes, thank you, Lord. Please watch over these folks. And again, the outpour of support has been incredible during these very trying times. Following this tragedy, we're seeing the soldiers are still unified and together. Finding peace through strength is the only way that we're going to get through this one. But I want to flip over to a little bit more of a sad note. This one coming from Judge Jeanine Pirro here on X. She's tweeting out saying our hearts and prayers go out to the family of the 20-year-old Sarah Beckstrom of the National Guard, a hero who volunteered to serve D.C. on Thanksgiving for the people she never met and gave the ultimate sacrifice. May she rest in peace. It's now time to avenge her death and secure justice. And this is her right here, Miss Sarah Beckstrom. Oh my goodness, she was just 20 years old, folks. This is something that cannot happen. And again, while we continue to say these loonies on the left need to stop with their demonization of our soldiers, the men and women who put their lives on the line every single day to protect our beautiful country. This has to stop. Now, Judge Jeanine is not keeping quiet on this tragedy that unfolded in D.C. She is absolutely going off, saying that they're going to demand, they're going to seek justice to the fullest extent and make sure this psychopath pays for his crimes.
Are we going to see an escalation in charges?
Oh, there's no question. First of all, our hearts go out and our thoughts and prayers go out to the family of a beautiful 20-year-old Sarah Beckstrom who answered the call to serve her nation. And she volunteered, and she ended up being shot ambush style on the cold streets of Washington, D.C. By an individual who will now be charged with murder in the first degree. There are certainly many more charges to come, but we are upgrading the initial charges of assault to murder in the first degree. And we are hoping that the more information we can get and the more investigation that is going on 24/7 now, around the clock in Washington, the more we will find out about what actually happened in terms of this individual even being in this country and being in a position to ambush and shoot down an innocent young woman who is doing her duty to the people of this country.
Judge Jeanine, as usual, not mincing her words whatsoever when she's describing the punishment that will come for this animal that launched the attack on two National Guardsmen in Washington, D.C., saying that she's going to be seeking the maximum penalty in this case. And all I could think when I hear about tragedies like these, or it was completely avoidable. We did not have to have this attack on our lovely men and women that serve and protect our country. I blame these folks on the left, and it seems like a lot more folks are in agreement with me. We got Gunther Eagleman here saying that he blames Elisa Slotkin, that ex-CIA agent, now senator, who said this just the other day.
These videos coming out of places like Chicago, it makes me incredibly nervous that we're about to see people in law enforcement, people in uniform military get nervous, get stressed, shoot at American civilians. It is a very, very stressful situation for these law enforcement and for the communities on the ground. So it was basically a warning to say, like, if you're asked to do something, particularly against American citizens.
This right here is exactly what I'm talking about. This is the very dangerous and divisive rhetoric coming from these loonies on the left that has to be stopped. These folks have to be held accountable because we know exactly what the outcome is. Heck, we've seen the attacks against President Donald Trump. We've seen the attack on our friend Charlie Kirk. And now it's two National Guard service members that have been attacked in Washington, D.C., just 1 mile away from the Capitol. And I'm not alone in feeling this way about these folks being held accountable and brought to justice and possibly even prosecuted. Judge Jeanine is absolutely losing her stuff, saying that we will seek justice against all of these loonies on the left that continue to push these very dangerous narratives.
Madam Attorney, what is your message to elected officials like Senator Dick Durbin and Senator Elissa Slotkin that said that our National Guard was terrorizing American cities, that predicted that it would be the National Guard that would shoot innocent Americans, and many more horrific comments such as that.
It outrages me. And, there's a part of me that thinks that the left is disappointed that the National Guard didn't shoot someone. But the truth is that this left-wing progressive nonsense is nothing more than fueling the flame of division in this country. People should be grateful that the President of the United States has taken crime so seriously in this country that he is bringing in our law enforcement partners so that we can protect the innocent citizens. Look, I am the United States Attorney in the District of Columbia. We had the 4th highest homicide rate in the nation 2 years ago. And the president made the decision to protect the people of the district. Now homicides are down 60%. Robberies are down 50%. Carjackings are down 74%. And the left wants to complain about it. They should thank God that President Trump is the president, that he cares enough about the people of this country to fight the criminals and protect the innocent people. And let me say,
Judge Janina is exactly right in saying President Donald Trump cares so much to deploy our National Guardsmen, our troops, to help our law enforcement agents on the streets to clean up crime in those crime-infested places like Washington, D.C., like what we've seen in Chicago, Illinois, what we've seen in Los Angeles. President Trump is just doing what a true leader does. I don't understand why folks are so upset with the movement, the operation that he's been carrying out, because it's been working. It's been proven to work. And if you're not a criminal, you're an innocent civilian, you should not have any problem with this whatsoever. You're not committing a crime. You're not getting away or trying to assault these agents or our troops. You won't have any problem. So these folks need to stand out of the way. And Judge Janine did not stop there. She then took to a press conference and said that folks need to just stop blaming President Trump.
With the president believing that the National Guard members should not even have been there if it were not for the executive order.
I don't even want to talk about whether they should have been there. We ought to kiss the ground and thank God that the president said it's time to bring in more law enforcement to make sure that a city that had the 4th highest homicide rate in the country was that violence was quelled. I'm not even going to go there.
Judge Janine clearing the air for these Trump deranged leftists that continue to blame him and believe he's the answer for all of their problems. I mean, they blame him for everything. Their car breaks down, catches a flat on the E-way. They're blaming President Donald Trump. Their sink gets stopped up at home. They're blaming President Donald Trump. They need to get a grip. He is not the reason why all these tragedies keep taking place. You need to take a look in the mirror. And as for those who continue to say that the National Guard's men and women should not have been deployed on Thanksgiving Day, yeah, you're right. They shouldn't have been there. If folks were actually stepping up and doing their jobs and protecting the civilians the way they should have never been there. But President Trump seen a need, and again, a crime-infested city. He said, hey, we got to make a complete turnaround, and you could see that this was needed. And I think we can go all the way back to the Biden administration that allowed these folks in the first place and say, hey, yeah, the National Guardsmen wouldn't have been there if President Joe Biden would have did his job and secured the borders and not granted immigration status for all these Afghan immigrants. It didn't make any sense whatsoever. But you already know President Donald Trump didn't keep quiet on this situation either. He's absolutely losing it in his latest appearance.
Why do you blame the Biden administration?
Because they let him in. Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person? Because they came in on a plane along with thousands of other people that shouldn't be here, and you're just asking questions because you're a stupid person. And there's a law passed that it's almost impossible not to get them out. You can't get them out once they come in. And they came in, and they were unvetted, they were unchecked, there were many of them, and they came in on big planes, and it was disgraceful. And if you look, you'll see there was a law passed. It makes it almost impossible not to let them in, not to certify them, so to speak, once they come in. And they came in, and they shouldn't have come in. And frankly, the whole thing was a mess. The whole Afghanistan situation was a mess. It should have never taken place. If we're going to go out, and we would have gone out because I had everybody ready to go, we were going to go out with strength and dignity and precision, and we would have left from Bagram, and we would have kept Bagram, by the way, because of its very close relationship to China and where they make their missiles. But when you let the people come in by the thousands and thousands and thousands, they made a terrible mistake. but they were incompetent. Yeah.
Yo, there we have it, guys. Oh my goodness. President Donald Trump with a very valid point there at the end saying, yeah, we can place a lot of this blame on President Joe Biden, his failed administration, because not only did they leave our southern and northern borders wide open, but they also allowed these Afghan immigrants into our country. And that's exactly what led up to this. But again, I think we can place a lot of the blame on these loonies on the left. They're very dangerous and divisive narratives that they continue to push. It doesn't make sense why these folks haven't been stopped in their tracks just yet. But it looks like President Trump is gearing up for a sweet surprise for these folks, because that's what it's going to take. It's going to take for us to finally say, hey, put my foot down. Enough is enough. Hold one of these loonies on the left accountable. I think we start with Elisa Slotkin just to set the tone. You have to set the tone some way so that it kind of deters these loonies from to continue to push these kind of rhetorics and dangerous narratives on folks that don't even deserve it. These are the men and women that are serving, protecting our country, putting their lives on the line every single day, away from their families on holidays, but yet you want to paint them out to be the villain. This has to stop right here. I'm all in favor of President